Historic moments at the Tennessee state capitol today. State Republican lawmakers releasing their proposed redrawn congressional map, which breaks Shelby County into 3 separate districts. Action News 5's Imani Williams joining us live from Nashville now. Imani, this issue has been loudly protested. You have been there in the middle of it. Tell us what people are saying about how this is unprecedented.
Well, this proposed map could turn Tennessee into an entirely red state, only eliminating its only Democratic congressional seat, and that seat includes Memphis. So today we heard from former Georgia Representative Stacey Abrams. We also heard from Congressman Steve Cohen. We also heard from civil rights attorney Walter Bailey and Professor Dr. Siku Franklin. All testified today for Democrats against this map and the redistricting effort. Now, Republicans did not bring any witnesses, but said the proposed map would better represent Tennessee in terms of population and politics. Democrats disagree. They say this entire special session is race-based. I showed the map to residents in Shelby County who drove up here to Nashville to push back. Listen to their concerns.
How is somebody who represents 90% a rural area going to respond to urban complaints? They don't understand them. My vote wouldn't count. They're diluting the votes. Yes, it affects the black people in Shelby County, but it affects everybody in Shelby County.
Now, Dr. Franklin said this push is different from the recent SCOTUS decision and other instances where redistricting happened. He said this is because Memphis is an organically black and Democratic area, and there wasn't a court order that created that. So we'll hear more legislation, more discussion tomorrow. This special session is scheduled to wrap up on Thursday tomorrow, and I'll be here for that. Live in Nashville, Imani Williams, Action News 5.